Welcome to the Ask a Cycling Coach podcast presented by TrainerRoad. I'm Coach Jonathan Lee in person. Pete Morris from Free Lap. What's up, Pete?
How's it going?
Good, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's funny because we live in the same place, but when you have kids and then you have all crazy lives, we just never see each other.
We're here right now, though.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
You got to take advantage.
That's it. We're going to talk today. We asked a question last week to Tobin Ortenblad all about race tactics and how to handle negative racing when you're the marked rider. And Pete actually listened to that as well. And I wanted him to take some notes because I really wanted to get Pete's take on this too. So we're going to discuss that. We're also going to discuss like a few things you can do after late night workouts and science-backed approaches and not science-backed approaches.
In practice approaches.
Yeah. And then finally, we'll finish this one off and we're going to talk about an athlete specifically that's asking like, why can't I do well when a climb is making me push and repeat over and over? So we're going to analyze their file, look at it. We'll throw in some screenshots so you can see it. And we're really going to talk about that repeatability and that sort of thing. Pete, I saved the question for you because you're the repeatability beast.
Well, we'll see what I can do.
Yeah. Before we get to that, though, I do want to talk about, because as of the publishing of this podcast, I'm probably in the air on an airplane at this point, going over to Leadville to race in a couple days.
Because you just qualified.
Yeah, I did.
It's amazing how that works. I accidentally qualified.
Yeah, the odds are really long. It was like that. It was like the odds on the bet that Primoz Roglic would crash in the Tour.
Wear short socks.
And he didn't crash in the Tour. That had to be the longest odds he could have seen. Right? Yeah. And then somehow it all worked out. Well, I had long odds to qualify for Leadville, and it all worked out.
Well, I hope someone made money on Primoz not crashing.
Yeah. That bet had to have been out there.
I mean, it had to have been.
I'm sure.
But that's very exciting. Yeah. And at least there's no time to prep or do anything. You just get to show up and go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Makes it so you don't have any time to fret over it. I want to go over my last 8 weeks of training.
Let's do it.
And talk about it. So my FTP 8 weeks ago was 277. Now it is 291. So that's up 14 watts or 5%, which is great.
That's great.
And the kind of some context for that. Usually I would probably be around there 8 weeks ago, and then I might be somewhere around 300 right now. But that collarbone break, I thought it was going to be straightforward, and turns out I'm old, and it wasn't straightforward, I guess. I don't know, or maybe I'm just old. It took a long time.
Yeah, and there's just, buildups are never the same.
Yeah.
So expectations are there, but sometimes the maths don't math.
The maths did not math there. My weight, I'm down from 161 pounds down to 154 pounds as of today. I'm probably going to lose like 1 or 2 more pounds by the time I get, because we're doing this a week ahead. But it's really not going to be too much of a difference. So I'm down 7 pounds or 5% in weight. That means that my power to weight ratio went from 3.8 to 4.2 watts per kilogram, which is an 11% increase. For context, at sea level, I would be 4.4 watts per kilogram. And then also, if you look at in terms of threshold power, where I would be, because a lot of the time we get this request, I think I'd be like 302. For my threshold at sea level right now instead of 291, I think.
It's pretty good. North of 300.
That's right. It's the 300. That's all. Just make it say 300. That's all we want. Completed workouts out of that time period. Over the last 8 weeks, I was training either 5 or 6 days per week out of the whole thing. And I had 4 to 6 days per week, because in some cases, recovery weeks have me doing less. But 37 out of 37 workouts were completed. I didn't miss one.
That's very impressive.
It feels very good.
I don't think I've ever done that.
I think that's why my FTP went up.
Well, maybe that's why you qualified.
Yeah. So weird, right? Yeah. So I didn't miss one. Honestly, a lot of it's our I almost just leaked something, but the way that TrainerRoad is working and we're testing things, it has a lot to do with that. It's very great. So stay tuned. Very excited. Sign up now if you want to check it out. The workout durations were all like 90 to 120 minutes.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, again, kind of like newish stuff that most athletes aren't using, but it was giving me slightly longer workouts for me personally because it analyzed my training history. But the longest non-race that I did was 4 hours. I was only supposed to do 3.5 hours that day, but I did 4. But that was the longest ride that I did. Most of my weekend rides were 2.5 hours. My Saturday rides were 2.5 hours. I had Sundays off. Framework was pyramidal. The composition of that during the base phase, it was 2 endurance workouts, 2 sweet spot workouts, and 1 threshold. During the build and specialty, it was 2 endurance, 1 sweet spot, 1 threshold, and 1 VO2. the workouts consistently progressed based on how I was doing and how I was responding.
Did either of those feel harder for you? Like, was base harder, or was build or specialty harder?
Oh, it's super hard in the beginning with the base stuff, man. It's just like, and it wasn't because the training was harder. It was because, like, when you don't train for a while,
it's the hardest part,
dude. You lose it. Like you aren't comfortable with being uncomfortable, and the saddle feels weird.
It's the first month of training feels bad no matter what. And
always
I think
does.
You forget about it every single time.
So true. Yeah, it was rough. The VO2 stuff felt like jarring at first, and I kind of wondered. I was like, man, because the topic is like, I feel like I'm getting old. I don't recover as fast, that sort of thing. And I was like, maybe I'm just not good at VO2 anymore. But it only took like a week, and I did that one VO2 workout. And the next workout, I was like, oh, it does actually feel easier.
Yeah.
So it didn't bring me to my knees at all. It was still like the right amount of difficult.
Yeah.
But I just, again, adapted my perspective.
I was going to say it's perspective. VO2 is just a lot more painful than everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Or different pain, I guess.
Yeah. I want to talk about the pacing plan for Leadville too.
Well, you're going to go 11% faster than...
Yeah, I see your math. Those maths don't math, actually, Pete. So in 2019, I did it. I did Leadville. And for context there, I went 8 hours and 14 minutes. With like almost 14 minutes to the dot on stoppage time because of nature needs that had to happen.
Well, if you don't go to the bathroom this time.
I finished without gloves, it's fair to say. So
in one sock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't great. Not my best moments. But I was 4.4 watts per kilogram at that point.
Okay.
So 0.2 higher than now. And on that day, I did 209 normalized and 181 average power. But I wasn't really good at long stuff then. In fact, I was like kind of fresh off of cross-country Olympic national championships, and that's where my focus was.
Yeah.
So I was not good at that. Like, it was terrifying to think of. I mean, it still is kind of terrifying to think of riding that course, but I had no clue what I was doing with like pacing and that sort of thing. I really I tried to stick to the numbers, but I still just didn't do a great job. And then fueling, I wasn't very good at fueling then either.
Or not as good as you are now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I also, like, I look back at the photos, I was wearing like a wind vest. It's just flapping around most of the day.
Your number was like a little small parachute.
Yeah. They say like vibe coding, like I was vibe riding. I was just like...
It worked.
And it somehow got me there. My bike also wasn't as efficient. It was heavier, but then also like with flight attendant, dude, it is absurd how good the bikes are now. Like, it's crazy. And then also tires, like I'm going to have much faster tires. We'll go over that in just a bit. And the course is also slightly different. Even though it's a bit longer, I actually have heard that the times are a bit faster. So by about 1 minute or so. So it's really not a big deal. My goal this year, though, is to go sub 8. To do that, Best Bike Split says that I need to... So actually, let's run through the adjustment of the FTP first. So let's just say that my FTP is... it's 310 down at sea level.
Oof.
So
way better.
Yeah.
I was worried at 303.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Now I actually get respect. So it was at 310. My altitude adjusted FTP, which you adjusted by, like, for me, I adjusted by 17%. For people that may have less experience with like structured training and like a lower fractional utilization, basically, like you might want to reduce it by up to 20. And if you're like, if you're crazy fit, then you might want to drop it by like 15. Or if you're Keegan, then you don't drop it for some weird reason.
Yeah. You can always turn it up, but you can't re-drop it once you're up there.
That's true. That's right. So mine would be 260 watts, my altitude adjusted FTP up there. So what
is that rounded though?
No, it isn't actually. Okay. Isn't that neat when it all works out that way on zeros and fives? So 207 normalized and 190 average is what Best Bike Split says I need to do, which is very close actually to what I did before.
Okay.
And then that works out to be about a 0.8 IF or 80% of my threshold. For
It seems hard.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really hard. Flats, I would be riding at 200 watts. Climbs at 225 watts.
Okay.
Steep climbs, if I can. I try to ride at 260, but you really
just go that slow.
Just go up it.
Yeah.
And
hopefully not walk.
Yeah. Have you ridden Powerline before? I know you've ridden the Colorado Trail.
I've ridden the Colorado Trail, and it's just sometimes you have to do 300 or whatever. It's X amount of watts to not walk. Yeah. And that's probably more than 260.
Yeah, I think that there are portions of Powerline that'll probably be 400.
Yeah.
And you're 6.5 hours deep into that race at elevation.
But you've only been doing 225 watts on the climb before then.
So that's all I have to focus on.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, good. I like it. And pretty soon I'll just do 200 watts. Yeah, cool. Yeah, good. Yeah, so it has to be the hardest climb I've done in a race because of, I mean, even on its own, it's very hard.
Yeah.
But because of the context of where it's positioned in the race, it's so hard.
And it's traffic laden.
Yeah.
So like power numbers aside and steepness aside, there's also a bunch of things going on.
Yeah. And traction is the hardest part, maybe.
Okay.
It's like, because it's kind of like it's a pole line road
Yeah.
that is slightly off camber in a lot of situations. So it has rain ruts and it's kind of got that like DG-ish, like packed DG.
So it's either super grippy or nothing.
Yeah. Or it's just like, if you were to get out of the saddle, you just spin instantly, you know? So it's just really, really tough to do at the end. For nutrition, and actually putting that in context, again, flats, 77% of my FTP.
Okay.
Climbs, 87% of my FTP. In situations where it's not going to be like flat, it's slightly downhill, I'm going to be dropping down less than that, obviously.
Yeah, 180, 160 something.
Yeah, somewhere around there, right? So, but that's what Best Bike Split says I should do. For intake, I actually have a bunch of Gatorade sweat patches coming, like the cheaper, more accessible sweat tests.
Yeah.
They give you a ballpark, which is not an exact number, but it's somewhat helpful.
You put your finger in the wind at least. Know a direction.
Yeah. Because the hard part about this whole thing is that I've been doing heat training now for 2 months.
Okay.
And with like a sauna protocol. I shared all the information about that on the forum. I'll link to that so then people can see it, including like the sauna and the little like mini little space heater I have in there to get it actually hot.
In addition to your sauna?
Yeah, because it says like 150 degrees and it is not 150. It's like a cheap Amazon zip up thing, you know?
Okay.
But anyways, with all that in mind, I was in like normal warm conditions, summer conditions here, I'm losing like 1.4 liters an hour. Because of that,
which is a lot.
It's a huge amount.
Yeah.
A huge amount. And like 800 milligrams of sodium typically at that rate too.
Okay. So not super salty, but.
Yeah. But a huge amount of fluid.
Yeah.
But then the other, like at Tahoe Trail 100, it was chilly in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was kind of cold.
Yeah. And I really had to pee, man. Because I think I drank too much. And I even dropped it down. So anyways, I'm going to go back up to like 10,000 feet where we have a by Relay Peak early in the morning. And I'm going to use the patch and then see what that gives me. And then do it in the afternoon up there on another ride and see what that gives me to be able to compare and contrast. But because honestly, like if I look at it, the pee stops could make it so that I don't finish under 8 hours. And if that's the goal, I don't want to pee. So
you shouldn't have to.
If I'm doing it right,
if you
shouldn't have to.
Yeah, right.
You know? Yeah. And I'm not comfortable with peeing my pants, so don't want to do that.
Use the 160 watt section.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be my advice.
Yeah, come and give me a push, Pete. All right, so 830 milliliters per hour is the fluid that's like my goal. It's definitely not that consistently throughout. It starts out lower, goes higher at the end. Carbs, about 115 grams per hour. Again, like kind of like gets a bit richer at the end for me in terms of like the intake rate. Sodium, 750 milligrams per hour.
Yeah.
And this is all subject to change there. But
and I was going to say, that's a good takeaway for some people is like, if you ramp up your food, I know it seems scary that you're underfueling, but your stomach stays happier. So if your limiting factor is your stomach staying happy, you should ease and then ramp. Or if your stomach isn't a problem at all, then you can do consistent fueling the whole time.
Yeah. Also, the first part of Leadville feels so easy if you're following the right pacing plan.
Yeah.
Most people go way too hard, but
the first 2 hours is the hardest.
So I feel like, and I could be totally wrong here because we're at elevation, so I'm already burning more glycogen as it is. That's what happens when you're up there. But I feel like I'm actually going to be burning more carbohydrate later on in the race because I will be we talk about cardiac drift, everything else. I will be at my aerobic threshold toward the end at these relatively low power numbers.
Yeah.
I'm sure the glycogen furnaces will be accepting all glycogen it can to be able to burn. And I want to make sure that I'm not in a spot then where I'm like, oh no, I want to make sure that I'm just dripping the carbs in. At that point, I'm like, if it's 220, sure, I'll take it as long as my gut doesn't blow up.
Yeah, and it's like once the expenditure is happening, like when the power needs the fuel is when you really want it to be there.
That's right.
So
yeah, exactly. And then I'm going to take in 50 milligrams per hour of caffeine. I'm doing it through Run Gum instead of caffeine gels.
You're crazy.
So
I know that's what you like, but
dude, I've been trying the gels with caffeine, and like, it's still just it's not every time, but it does increase the chances that my gut gets messed up.
Because it's hard on your system to digest.
It is.
Do they make caffeine patches? This is crazy.
I was wondering the other day, like, I don't know how this doesn't exist. Also, like caffeine Zins.
Those do exist.
Okay, those do exist?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, but why not caffeine patches?
Caffeine patches would make sense with like an exact amount of caffeine that you just put on, and then like I'm sure it has to absorb. I was thinking like 100, not 17.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But well, I don't know. Whoever wants to start that, I think it would go.
Yeah, that's the move, Pete. That's the one that we should do. So, and I'll be taking that in just because I know that it doesn't mess my gut up, and it's a long day. And
then your teeth get muddy also.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Honestly, there's something satisfying about chewing.
I know. Yeah.
Gum.
And it's supposed to like do something to your brain-body connection. Like there is science that says gum or like mandible usage is positive, and smiling and all that. Yeah. There's a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
But
I think that what I'm going to do though, because the packets are terrible, Run Gum, I'm sure it's cheap to put them in these little things, but like it's the worst because you have to tear the top off and then you have a top that's flapping around. You don't want to litter. So you put it in your pocket and then the gum gets wet from sweat. It's just terrible. So what I'm going to do is probably take like one of those like noon tablet things and just like put the gum in there. And then that way I can just pull it out and pop one in.
What if you just tape them to your top?
Stop.
Okay. Just throwing that out there.
So much. People put their gels on there. It's just so gross.
Run Gum it is.
Yeah. That's what we'll be sticking to. And then for aid station stuff, thanks to everybody reaching out that offered to help. I think we're all set. I'm going to take aid at Pipeline alternate, Twin Lakes alternate, and then that's going out. And then on the way back, Twin Lakes alternate, and then outward bound on the way back. If anybody is illegally feeding, because I know it happens, and they don't disqualify people for it. If anybody's illegally feeding around Turquoise Lake, I like carbs.
Anything you want to hand me.
I'll take it all. So I definitely saw a lot of folks doing that last time.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then, that's kind of it there for equipment really quick. Apparel, dude, so cycling news, Josh Croxton, fantastic journalist. If people don't know, he covers race stuff, but then he also does these in-depth product features, also very fit cyclist. He did on Cycling News' website, they did a very thorough, in-depth aero testing one, and it's only for members, and I think it's worth it, honestly.
I think I paid $1 for that one.
Yeah,
I was
for
like,
sure.
yep, this is the time. They got me.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a good move, Josh, in Cycling News. I have the Sweet Protection Falconer Aero 2VI, rolls off the tongue. That helmet, and I don't love it. It's fine, but it doesn't fit great. The covers, surprisingly, they have little magnetic covers, and I saw that like the covers, it was less than a watt difference when you took the covers off versus on, which was crazy to me.
Yeah.
But that's what it shows, and that's within the margin of error of their testing, so it's probably a bit of a wash, which was quite interesting. I looked at I was like, maybe I'll go and get a new helmet that's like, but even like the best helmets that don't make me look like I'm Vingago with
you didn't want to wear a TT helmet with no visor?
Nope. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Those ones are all within like 1 to 2 watts.
Yeah.
Which is also probably within the margin of error.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to spend $300 on a new helmet. For the kit, also like kind of same thing. Like I don't nobody makes a good skin suit anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like that's actually comfort. Maybe the new Rafa one's good. I don't know.
I
haven't spent that money on the skin suit.
That's a hard one to be like, I'm going to try 3 or 4 of these and figure out which one's the best.
Yeah, it's like $500.
Yeah, $2,500 later. You're like, I don't like any of them.
Yeah, it's so expensive. So I'm going to be using the bib and jersey that I like the most, that's the most comfortable, that does feel the most aero, is in like it's not catching wind.
Yeah.
Fits tight to me. That's the new Velocio Concept bib and jersey. And then for shoes, I have S-Works Recon laces. I like them. I know that laces would theoretically be more aero if I wore like a little shoe cover thing, but also they're starting to wear out a bit. So I've got some new shoes on the way, and we'll see which ones I use there. And then, sorry, last bit of details. These are the nerdy things people ask for.
Yeah.
For my bike, I'm using the Epic 8. I'm not going to go with anything different there. Then I'm not changing out the suspension. 120 millimeter fork up front with the 35 mil stanchions. I'm great with that. And 120 mil in the rear. And I'm using Flight Attendant. And one thing, if you're using Flight, because I know a lot of people will up there, remember to adjust your settings manually for your zones. So what it does is it learns your zones off your, I think still, it looks at your last 8 rides and it looks at the power effort, and it has some sort of algorithm to try to understand what an easy pace, mid pace, and a hard pace is. And then it will set its thresholds and constantly be adjusting those based on your previous 8 rides. But if you go up to elevation, your power is significantly less. It's going to be much more less likely to firm up your suspension for you throughout the day. So
you don't rev as high.
That's right.
Yeah.
So remember to adjust them, like do the same like 17, 20-ish% drop from whatever you have. I always run mine manually on there because like I use my mountain bike for all my training. So when I'm doing my 30-minute easy rides or something, it kind of throws things off.
Yeah.
And I train so much also that then if I show up on race day and it's just uncorking the throttle, it also isn't really prepared for that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that makes sense.
And then bar stem, normal bar, not running drop bars. Heavens no. I think we talked about this in the last week's episode, but so many people, amateurs even, at the Leadville stage race are running them. Number one, I think that's a terrible choice for safety. Like number two, almost everybody that uses drop bars to get comfortable, you end up having to go more upright.
Yeah.
You defeat the whole purpose because you become less aerodynamically efficient because you're opening up your chest like that.
Yeah, and it's just sketchy descending on drop bars.
Bikes don't handle well.
Bikes do not handle well.
And mountain bikes in particular aren't designed to be operated with your hands where they are like that. And it feels weird, especially if you have suspension up front and that suspension is soft or moving. When your hands are far over the front like that, you have a ton of leverage over the front and it makes the bike handle weird.
And your weight is all different versus your flat bars. I don't know. It seems... teach their own. Yes.
And also on the other side of it too, I don't care if you're a pro or not, if you're going to be in the wheels most of the day, that's doing you zero favors.
Yeah.
Because who cares how aerodynamic you are? You're in the draft.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of these people that are switching to drop bars, they tend to be a bit more road centric. And the irony is that like...
they need the most help.
You need the most help on the descending. So you're probably actually net slower, even if you're slower. You know?
But you got to buy new handlars and put them on your mountain bike.
That's true. And you got to feel like Keegan for a bit, I guess. So look what you did, Keegan. You should repent for that. So and my bars are normally at 700 millimeters. I don't run super wide bars, but not super narrow. And I have an 80 mil negative 25 degree stem that I'm going to stick with. I have one that's like longer and like more of a drop. And I was thinking of going to that. Absolutely not. Like, well, on such short notice and then like blow up my back, you know? No way.
No. You'll be able to tell 3 hours in when you're like, oops.
Yes.
I should not have done that.
Exactly. High post, no dropper. Dropper's just not needed there. It is nice to maybe be able to dropper sit and kind of relax throughout the race, but I need all the help I can get on the climbing, and that dropper is almost a pound heavier than the one that I have. A pound, according to Best Bike Split, saves about 2 minutes on the course. So, you know what the crazy thing is though, Pete? 1 pound, dropping 1 pound is hard.
Yeah.
Right? From your body or from your bike.
Yeah.
It's very expensive.
Yes.
In one way or another. If you increase 2 watts, you get almost 3 minutes, according to Best Bike. So for me and my times.
Okay.
So like
2 watts seems easier.
2 watts seems a lot easier. And it's crazy. Like, but in our minds are just like, it needs to be light. It needs to be light. And it's like, actually just a bit more watts. That's all you need.
Well,
there you go.
Add 2 more next time.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. So then tires, I'm going to run the Maxxis Aspen ST, the 2.25s, the skinnier ones, and the 170 TPI ones. Those are like whatever they call them, the race spec or whatever. And I'm going to run Vittoria Airliner inserts front and rear because a flat tire is really slow and a destroyed rim.
Slowest.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And they weigh like hardly anything. So if I get a flat tire, then it'll be a pain to have to deal with. But I'm not planning to, so who cares? Then I'm going to run, the only other difference is I'm going to run foam inner grips, like those and I'm just going to put those on the inside. Then I have 2 blips, little axis blips.
You won't put gum on your top tube?
No.
I mean, one is just as bad as the other.
Fair point, Pete. Fair point. Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. And then like minimal spares too. Like if I flat, I flat.
It's going to be what it is.
You know, it is what it is. So I'll carry a CO2 and then I have like my friend's, you might know him actually, but I shouldn't say his name because I don't think, I have a friend who makes these things. And,
I do know who you're talking
little
about.
titanium Dynaplug insert that fits into my axle. It's very sleek, very cool. But that's kind of it, man. And then for elevation, when I'm going up, I'm traveling up on Thursday I'm traveling there on Thursday and I'm staying at Copper Mountain because staying in Leadville is a mess.
Yeah.
And
Copper's nicer.
It's way nicer. There's like a little grocery store there now too in the village, and there's like 7 restaurants or something. Whereas Leadville, it feels like there's like 2 restaurants and it's like a 4-hour wait. So no, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the smart move.
Yeah,
and it's high enough.
It's like 20 minutes away.
Yeah,
it's like pretty close.
Yeah,
I think. Colorad's might correct me. Anyways,
22 minutes.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm super excited. I think I can go sub 8. Those numbers actually would get me theoretically down to 7:49 if all went well. So maybe we have some glove loss time to kind of deal with.
I mean, knowing you have the 10 extra minutes, you can do all sorts of things.
I know, right?
You give more high fives.
Yeah.
You can also probably pace a little smarter, right? Like if you know you have a little slack in the system, you don't have to live or die, 10 miles in and 20 miles in where you're like, oh my God, I'm behind already. It's
true.
It gives you that freedom. So yeah, it seems like you're set up.
Yeah, I'm also not using a hydration pack this year. I'm just using bottles, which will speed up like feeds too a lot. Yeah. Hydration packs just always take a little longer unless I don't want to have my father's going to be helping me with feeds and possibly my uncle, which is cool. I don't want to have them task them with the task of like holding out and out so I can shoot my arm through there while I ride by. Like,
and I mean, those of you who have ridden with a bladder or a backpack, like a long mountain bike ride with a backpack is much more tiring.
It is.
Like
just
for
is,
sure.
Man. Yeah. And it's hotter.
You can tell you're carrying something around, your weight's a little off, all the stuff. So I would do bottles if I could.
Yeah. That's what I'm just going to do. So it'll be nice and easy. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody there. If you're going to be there, let me, say hi. Race morning, I might look super serious. It's because I'm focused and probably nervous and terrified.
John always looks serious.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point too. But I'd love to see you guys up there. If I catch you out on course, let's roll a good pace together. Last time I did this, I caught up with the group at the bottom of Power Line, and they were doing like 600-watt pulls. And I was just like, what are we doing?
Did you let them go?
Oh, yeah. I saw them later, too. Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah, weird, right? So let's roll a good pace. You know what I mean? Like
sustainable pace.
Yeah. It'd be a great time.
Okay.
I should average 13.44 miles per hour, according to Best Bike Split, if I finish at this speed. So that doesn't look like I'm lighting the world on fire.
No.
Roll in. Let's just roll some nice turns. Let's make it so that we all get home faster than we want, because the best part is if we get done sooner, it's over sooner.
It's done sooner.
It's done sooner. So,
yeah, that's going to be really fun. I think you're going to have a blast, and it'll be so interesting to compare last time versus this time.
It will.
It's a new you.
A totally different me. That's the truth. Let's go into this question that we got from Tobin.
Okay.
From Anonymous. If you want, you can skip ahead. We cover different topics. You can look and scroll ahead there and you can see what they are. You can also skip past the first part of this question if you listened to last week and you don't want to hear it. But I'm going to read through it just because I think this context is important, just in case someone didn't listen last week. So it's submitted by somebody anonymously. They didn't want to provide their name. They said, what do I do to combat negative racing? My background is in running, and over the past 3 years, I've improved from a total beginner to being one of the best riders in my area. I got a few wins in my first season, and looking back, what I thought was the result of good tactical decision-making was really just a fitness advantage.
Yes.
Yeah. In my second season, I started riding for a team and learned all about tactics, and toward the end of the season, I was winning almost every race.
Wow.
The team folded, and this year I have been racing on my own. But no matter what I do, I can't seem to win this year because I'm so incessantly marked. The team folded, and this year, forgive me, I skipped that one. It seems like almost the entire field is just fully convinced that I'm the only one that can win. So if I go, I have an entire field chasing me. This usually opens the door so that one or two savvy riders can get away. I'll tell everybody else they need to chase them down or the break will win, but they just don't listen.
Yeah.
Since nobody does anything, I usually let my frustration get the best of me and I'll attack and catch the break. But once I catch them, everybody just sits up and keeps marking me. For the last 3 weeks, I've decided to not chase down anybody that went up the road, and wouldn't you know it, they still don't do anything and they just wait behind me and sprint at the end. This has let the same guy win 3 times in a row, yet they don't think twice about chasing him when he goes. So this Tobin, Pete's already listened to this. If you haven't last week, you can listen to what Tobin responded with and what I talked about. You listened to that.
Yeah, I did.
What thoughts do you have? Because you come from a team that specialized in tail gunning, but then also had athletes that were particularly good at going off the front and sneaking away.
Yeah.
And then you racing locally. If Pete ever showed up to a crit, I mean, even now, Pete shows up to a crit, Pete is marked.
Yeah. And I think what's so interesting about negative racing, and you guys talked about it a little bit last week, but I think what everybody has to remember is it's much easier to make someone else lose than for you to win.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's 2 things happening, like the group mentality of when everybody sort of makes this choice to follow somebody, everybody's going to do what everybody else is going to do. And so your job is not to race against everybody else, but to race for you. And if you battle your ways of winning versus their ways of making you lose, like it's 100 to 1. Like there's 100 ways for them to make you lose. And so like the negative racing always exists in some capacity, but it's really about like you, the course, how you want to win. And it matters a lot less what everybody else is doing. But it's really easy to fall into the trap where you get marked all the time and it's a terrible experience and you get frustrated. And like, I understand why people hate negative racing because it doesn't feel good, but I think everybody's sort of looking at it from the wrong way. I think that I made some notes. Let's see what I wrote down.
Yeah, for sure.
So like the most important thing is the most patient bike racer is the one who's most likely going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And so every single time you get frustrated and you're feeling like there's nothing you can do and things aren't going according to plan, like you're effectively giving them more ways to make you lose. And so when you're talking to people, you're trying to rally people to move, like work or chase or whatever, at the end of the day, bike racing is about acting on what you expect to happen. And that's
placing bets.
It's placing bets. And so if you've won a lot of races and they know what you're probably going to do, they're placing a higher like likelihood bet that you will do that versus all the other unknowns. And so when you play into that, you're obviously going to like enable them and disable yourself.
Yes.
So that's negative racing in a nutshell. But there's a lot of things you can do like from a checklist point of view that make negative racing a lot less impactful on you and more impactful on everybody else. And the first one is you can be more patient than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's step 1. If a good example is if you're like Air Center or any sort of like local crit, it's 60 minutes. You know how long the laps are. You know what the course looks like. You know the fastest you can do a lap is say 2 minutes. And if the break has 40 seconds, you're like, all right, I'm going to need 3 laps to get to this break. So I need 3 laps left in the race would be the last possible time I can possibly go. I guarantee if you wait 54 minutes, there's going to be a lot of people doing things that you don't have to do. But if you're like 20 minutes in and you're like, oh my God, the break's gone, we're not going to do it. Everybody's still waiting on you at that point.
Such a good point, Pete, because I think the other side of that too is that if this athlete is this strong, and they put down that sort of dig to catch the field with that sort of effort, everyone can try to hold on.
Yeah.
But at the very least, you're going to split some of that field apart. And if you're calculating it to like, okay, for the final 3 laps, I know it can hold a 3-lap maximum effort.
Yep.
Chances are, you know, like you're still going to absolutely explode the field and the break that you catch if you just continue to hold that throttle down the whole time.
And it's always about trimming numbers. So the negative racing, if you're racing against 7 guys, or so it's the whole field and you, 3 guys go up the road and you're like, okay, if I go all out at some point and I drag 5 guys with me, it's still 8 versus 1 instead of the whole field versus 1. And so you just made your odds better. And so it's not about like, what are the only ways I can win? It's how do I increase my odds over and over and over and over? And I think a lot of if you get really frustrated in situations like this, I think one of the other things you can do is like, okay, no matter what the field does, what is the one way I'm going to win? And I'm going to keep that in my back pocket until that moment. So if I'm a 10-minute power guy, or a sprinter or whatever, half a lap to go, like we have some locals who are not that fast, but if they do an attack with half a lap to go at the end of the race, they're probably going to win.
Yep.
And they do that every single time. They know that their one chance to win is during the lull with 750 to go, and they always do it. They don't always win, but that's their best shot. And so if you go into the race being like, everybody's going to mark me, everybody's going to do everything they can to make my race worse, but I know what I'm going to do at 5 minutes to go. I'm doing a 2.5 lap attack. I know where I'm going to attack, and I will ride until I cross the finish line. There might be 2 people on your wheel. Maybe they outsprint you, but your race was a lot better than being frustrated at the back.
This is a good point, Pete, and I don't think I realized this last time. I feel like this athlete might not know how to win, like how they best win. Because they're just frustrated that they're not winning. And they mentioned before that it was just like crazy fitness they had was making winning pretty easy in the beginning. And it's still like their fitness is still going up, I'm sure. So it's probably still some of the same, but it's not just about fitness. Otherwise, we wouldn't race bikes. We would just all write down our power to weight ratio and max power. And then that's the race. It's done.
It's a lot of like, you have to practice ways to win. And I know we've talked about it before, but the faster you are, the more mistakes you can make. And so if you're learning and going through the different categories, you can learn a lot of bad habits or not even know you're learning them. But your tricks of the trade are less effective the more fit people are.
Absolutely.
And even
less fit riders are efficient and savvy and technical riders by nature. They
have to be. Yes. Yeah. And so as the like fitness discrepancies close, all of a sudden it matters a lot more who was being efficient and who was doing things. And I think one of the 5 pieces is even if you are that fit and there's a lot of opportunities where you could ride, say you're frustrated, ride at 80%, ride at zone 3 on the front and be like, I can ride this for the rest of the race and still race if something happens. I guarantee you will burn people out. If you ride 30 minutes on the front at, tempo.
Yeah.
Like it's the death by 1,000 paper cuts problem that like really causes races to like come apart, I guess.
Yeah.
More so than these big accelerations. Like if there's rests in between any local race, so many people can hang out as long as it slows down.
That's right.
Right?
That's why counterattacks are so helpful.
Yes.
That's why a good teammate is always going to, after your move, going to throw in another because that's what actually thins the field. Yeah. It's not the one hit, it's the 1-2.
Yes. Yeah. And I was thinking about, so moves are going up the road. So people are active. It's not just everybody is marking you. There is activity. And it's like, okay, I'm going to wait 30 seconds. Or I guess the best way to think about this is if you're predictable, they're going to be able to beat you. And it's like, okay, if the move is going up the road, I'm going to let them get 10 seconds and then I'm going to bridge. And the next time I'm going to let them get 30 seconds and then I'm going to bridge. And the next time I'm going to let them get 5 seconds. And the next time I'm going to cover them. And like, you have to be unpredictable for people not to be able to negatively race you.
That's right.
And so if you're changing up your tactic to get across, it's going to work eventually.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like the hammer strike, right? Like there's one race or there's one move that always wins the race. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about stage 21. Who didn't do anything all day and then did one thing slightly better than everybody else and he won the race.
That's right.
It's really just like being present when the race is about to unfold. So people can mark you. You can keep being present. And local races, like you get marked also. So it's really about being available to decide whether to do what you want to do. And when it happens, it's great. You bring a couple people with you. Mm-hmm. Guess what? It's still a new race. There's still 5 of you and your chances of winning just went up a lot.
Yes. There's so much I want to say, but it would be redundant with what we covered last week because I just want to bench race this with you, Pete, because it's really fun to talk about. But I'll leave that for other things that we've discussed on the previous week.
Yeah, and let me throw in one more.
Please.
The trick Or the last trick you can do if nothing is working and the group is just sitting, like your whole goal is to ride as easily as possible then, right? It's like get free rides to the front. You're still racing against everybody. And if everybody's marking you, that's okay. Like you still get to decide when the race happens. And if your fitness is that much better and you had an easier ride for the first 30 minutes, guess what? Like races still tire people out.
Yes.
So if you let the race do its work and you guys are just noodling for 30 minutes, I promise people are still tired. And it will change the dynamic once that happens. So it's really just being patient. Like you have to be more patient than everybody else and let everybody else like finally, it's the straw that broke their back and they're like, I'm going to go. Yeah. Or I'm going to lead out the sprint or whatever. And if you can do that, like you will be in the right position, say 90% of the time. And if I know any bike racers that are successful 90% of the time, like that's twofold of anybody in real life.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, what we talked about before was if you feel like you're a marked rider, it's because you're predictable enough that people can bet on you and the outcome will happen. And then the other side of it, like you said, is adding in the patience allows you to test things out and become unpredictable. Pete, you do a great job in races of being invisible. I forget Pete's there until Pete blows past us. And then he's gone, and it's about if somebody's going to chase Pete down, and if they do, you disappear again. You're really good at just going to that back, and you're fine with riding as slow as you need to ride. You don't care. And then you just wait for that momentum mismatch where you have momentum and the field is slowing down, and then you leverage it over and over.
Yep.
You're very good at that, and being able to read that momentum. And this athlete, if you're really strong, that's a really good hammer blow, like you mentioned, because if you are really strong, and let's just say you do have like a big threshold, that sort of a thing, you're like top speed and high sustainable speed is just going to be so hard for that rest of the field to hold on to if you can hit him with that differential.
Yeah. And I think you guys did talk about it last week, but it either needs to be as hard as possible or death by medium. Yep. Those are your only two options if you're getting marked. So you're going to tug the field around, not too hard, or you're going to go literally all out that if you get caught, you could get dropped. Yeah. Those are the two options.
Last week when I was talking about rolling the brake, when you catch the brake too, you were just running through my mind the whole time because that's one thing that I definitely learned early on from racing and watching you. Yeah. In a few breaks, I remember Pete catching up and then Pete would just like blow right past us and I was like, who is this guy? Like,
what is he doing?
That is insane. But that is like a move of experienced bike racers. That when they catch a break, don't get me wrong, sometimes it is everything that you can do and you're cracked, you need to sit on. But more often than not, even when you're completely cracked, if you just roll that brake, that means you're going to shed dead weight out of that brake anyway. Those guys will catch you, and then after that, you guys can roll turns together. It's just like a good opportunity to maybe drop 1, 2, 3 people out of there that otherwise would just stick around and maybe just sit on your wheel.
And I can't tell you the amount of races I've been in that were decided by 10 feet. One person drops 10 feet of a wheel, 2 guys are gone. And it's not that you couldn't close it, but you didn't. Yeah, and it's over.
You made the wrong bet, and then the opportunity left.
And if you roll through the break, like you just made the 10 feet, and you have all the cards, and if everybody catches up to you, great. You just got a micro rest, and you're back in it. But it's that forward pressure. Like if you're racing forward, and it's always going to be frustrating, but it's your job to find like a new way to treat this game. Yeah, for everybody.
We're on a bit of a time crunch here, so I don't want to go too long on this, but I do want to ask you your thoughts on like Lucas Bourgogne. I don't know if that's how you say his name, and then like Richard Hollick and that team Cadence.
Yeah, Cadence Cyclery.
I think is the name of the team. Yeah. What are your thoughts? It's very impressive.
Yeah.
To see how much success they're having.
I think they're doing a really good job with the right riders doing the right things. Mm-hmm. I would say they have a much better like role definition on the team, and everybody is adhering to that. And I would say most, I'll say this in like a positive and negative light. Most teams struggle with people doing their jobs. Yeah. In general, like World Tour teams, you get paid lots of money, you train specifically, and it's easy. You're like, I'm paid to do this. Where these teams, it's always about your results and what you want to do. And however they're deciding what that looks like, they're doing a great job. And it does backfire sometimes, right? You can see them get caught on the back foot and just they're nowhere because everybody stuck to their jobs and it didn't work. But I guarantee they're probably, looking at the math, I bet they're the most successful team right now.
They are.
And if you win 80% of the time, nobody really minds that you lost the other 20% of the time. And yeah, it's just people are doing what they're supposed to do and everybody like meets the expectations.
Yeah.
Which is really hard for a bunch of 20 and 30 something year old bike racers that are all type A and want to race crits. Like kudos to them. I think they're it'll be really interesting to see how it like evolves from here.
Yeah, because like you said, when everybody's doing their job, that does become very predictable. And so at some point, but you could say like Legion also had a very good example of having everybody for years. They had very key roles. You kind of knew that like Alec was probably going to be on the front with something like 10 to go. And he was just going to turn himself completely inside out to 5 to go. And he was so good at executing on that role. And then, it would roll through the team and everyone had their role. And it's whether they can hold it together and everyone continues to do that or the field can kind of overcome it. Because with Legion, it's kind of hard to overcome it. Because they did such a good job and they had such good power.
I was going to say, it's interesting. I bet, this is from watching streams and who knows, but I bet Legion was more powerful, had stronger riders
Legion
like, across the board.
Legion 2019.
Yeah, for 5 years.
2020-ish.
They had the 7 of the 8 fastest riders in the field were on that team.
Yeah, I say they beat Team Cadence. So let us know what your thoughts are. Like currently, you can't do that. But if you because of time travel,
I bet
such.
they would beat them.
But if you put them side by side, I do feel like they would win.
Yeah, and maybe it's 50-50, right? It might be a good split. And some courses, horses for courses, right? Like Boise was a good example where that race is really hard to get away in the last 5 minutes. But if that's your job and you do it,
it can work.
It can work.
Yeah, super fascinating stuff. Okay, let's go into Tom's question. He says, I currently race a crit once a week in the evening. The race starts at 8 p.m. for approximately 1 hour. I then pack, this sounds familiar to all of us. I then pack up, drive home an hour, unpack, shower, and head to bed. I take on a protein shake and a light snack on the way home, but can't stomach anything else that late. I then lay in bed completely wired and unable to sleep. The adrenaline is definitely still pumping, and I can feel my heart rate is above resting. My sleep score on my Garmin watch is horrible to look at, and I avoid reviewing it as it just confirms what I already know. This poor night's sleep is frustrating as I know I'm tired. I get up early in the morning for work and always struggle the next day. Fortunately, I use TrainerRoad to manage all my training and events, and I mark this crit as a B event, so the day after is always a free day. This helps me to know I'm not missing or dreading a session when tired. Is there anything I can try differently, or is this just the side effect of a late night hard race effort?
Yeah, this is what happens.
Yes.
I want to say that in the nicest way possible, but there are some things you can do. And I think understanding that you are compromised, like you are just functioning at a higher capacity of yourself for 3 or we call it the crit sleeps because there's no sleep.
I was gonna say, that's ironic.
And when we would do longer stage crit races, like we would just stay up till 1 o'clock because that's kind of finally the time where you can go to sleep. Yeah. And we could sleep in later because we didn't have to wake up and go to work in the morning.
Yeah.
But I think I would prioritize a bigger break post-race pre-drive. I think the hour drive is always when I felt the worst. Is when you were far away and then you you cooled down barely. I would actually cool down like a 15-minute spin out and then eat all your food.
Yes.
Sitting down on the ground or like at a table or something that's not driving and like let yourself come back to more normal. And then be like, okay, it's time to drive. I just saved myself a bunch of time by doing everything there and then use the drive to come down instead of cramming it in. But driving after riding it makes you feel a lot worse than if you would have just rolled home.
Just those still legs in that bent position, it's always really rough. This is what you're trying to do is go from a sympathetic state to a parasympathetic state
As quickly as possible.
Yeah, and that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I had like I just dove into all the different things that I've heard, cold showers, hot showers, all this other stuff. Honestly, if it is a crit and you somehow had the facility to do this, maybe it's by a river or something, directly after the race would be great to get into cold water.
Yeah.
Do not get into cold water, take a cold shower or anything else once you get home. Like that, that spikes adrenaline,
goes the wrong way,
throws you back into a sympathetic state, not the spot where you want to be. And it's something that I think can really help, like in terms of the temperature regulation side. And we'll get into more on that.
Bring a cooler, like lots of cold drinks afterwards. Put a washcloth or something. Wipe your face, wipe your neck. Like take off your clothes as soon as possible.
Yep.
But like cool down. I would also say
core temp. You need to drop it down.
Core temp you need to drop. And if you're riding your bike and the wind's blowing on you, I'm sure it's hot wherever you are. If you're doing an 8 o'clock crit, But like you have to start things rolling and then cool down and then relax before. Like as soon as possible. Yeah,
I really like Pete's suggestion of making sure that you're taking in your food and taking in a proper meal as soon as you can after the race.
Oh yeah.
Like it's if you wait for that drive and everything else, it's just going to be too tough for you. Looking at this, so cold showers, carbohydrate timing, even supplements, they all lack clear and consistent, like peer-reviewed evidence that show that like that directly aids recovery. And when I talk about carbohydrate timing, like you see like there is signaling that Dr. Pfaffenbach has talked about on our podcast at like length that is very important in terms of the recovery process. When we're talking about dropping from your sympathetic to your parasympathetic state, there isn't a whole lot of evidence that shows that. So don't listen to a whole lot of that. However, there is evidence that a warm bath or shower, not hot, but a warm one that is taken 1 to 2 hours before bed can and does reliably increase the rate of sleep onset. In other words, by the time you lay down, by the time you actually fall asleep, it helps. One hack with this one, because the thing is, if you get your core temp too high, that's also going to be really tough. And if you are in this situation where your core temp's high from the race, you never cool down, then you go and you take a hot shower and then you try to get in bed, you're just going to be sweaty and it's going to be terrible. One pro tip for this is if you have an electric blanket, or like I have one of those 8 sleeps. It's game changing. It's incredible.
Really?
Yeah, it's so nice. That thing is always warm when I get into my bed.
Yeah.
And then when I get in, then it starts cooling down quick.
Okay.
And I think that if you just have that warm and then you turn it off, I don't have any science to back this up, but my theory is it would have the same effect. Or a similar effect.
Yeah, the comfy is there.
Yeah, the comfy is there. And that's what really helps with that. So that might be a really helpful thing. But honestly, Pete, the biggest problem for me is I can't turn my brain off.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found that really helps is that I actually, in my notes app on my phone, I actually write down what I did well, what I didn't do well, and then what I'm going to resolve to do different the next time. And that allows me to put the whole thing metaphorically to bed.
Yep.
And then that way I'm not ruminating and sitting there in the bed thinking through the race and just letting my mind run wild.
Yeah, and actually that's a really good call out because we would sit in the same room and like watch Lord of the Rings or something, but we would talk about the race for the next hour or two.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden it's out of your brain. You've already like processed everything. You've thought about it. And I hate to say it, but don't try to go to bed too soon. Just know that it's going to be 6 hours of sleep or 5 hours or whatever it is. Then it's a cost of doing business and you like racing and you're going to feel slightly worse. But if you get into bed and you're like, oh, I can't go to sleep, and then you do the toss and turn.
Get irritated.
Yeah, you get irritated. You're not going to go to sleep faster after that. And so I would always wait until I was actually tired. And sometimes it was late, but then my sleep was solid for till 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or whatever. But don't try to go to sleep too soon. Really calm down, relax, like read, watch TV, whatever you need to do. And then be like, I'm getting tired. Okay, I can go to bed now, instead of forcing yourself like, I need 8 hours of sleep. It's not going to work.
No, it won't. Not at all. Yeah. Good tips. Last question from Sam. We're going to cover this one quick. We have
5
10 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes. Sorry, 5 minutes. It'll be really quick. He says, "Hey, Coach Jonathan, love the podcast. I've been listening for a few years and became a TrainerRoad subscriber in late 2024. Stoked to have you, Sam. I've been using the adaptive training plans for around 7 months and have felt as strong as I ever have this summer." He's talking about our AI that manages your training for you. "Having previously used a coach for short durations, I thoroughly recommend TR and doing so and do so to people on regular occasions. Appreciate it. As a rider, I'm on the larger side at 188 centimeters and 93 kilograms and probably suit punchy or TT style efforts typically. My question is about real world longer climbs, particularly when putting in a strong effort. I rode one of the longer climbs near me last week, 4.5 kilometers, a 7% average, but with extended sections of 12%. Whilst managing to beat my PR by around 2 minutes, I really struggled to hold the power on the last 1 to 1.5 Ks. The main problem I noticed was hyperventilating after the steeper sections and then not being able to get this back under control. This is an issue I've had as well when taking on longer mountains in Mallorca and really going for it."
I hate it when that happens.
Yes. This is purely a pacing issue, or is this purely a pacing issue? Or are there training adaptations I can train to better be able to deal with this type of effort? VO2, for instance. This doesn't seem to be as much of an issue on similar efforts producing similar power on a flatter effort. I'm guessing this is the difference between muscular endurance and aerobic fitness. Any tips to help with this would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, from Sam. Pete, I don't know if you can view that file. If not, then I can show it on mine, but we'll put this one up on screen. I just want to kind of make some points here for folks to see this too. Like, first of all, like a note on pacing, not too bad, honestly. Like when we look at this effort and we're kind of zoomed in on this one climb, that's pretty darn good. There are some spots where we can improve it for sure, but I just want to run some numbers on this. 25% of the time was above threshold. For the first half, 36% of the time was above threshold. And then for the second half, 18% of the time was above threshold. Now, I know you're going to kind of go above and beyond, but when we can see this one, we can see that like that sort of an effort with that length, it's okay to be going over threshold. But the big problem, let's just say that you went out and your goal was to do like this sort of an effort, but then you said, hey, partway through that effort, can you do 5 minutes of VO2 max and anaerobic intensities?
And then carry back on.
And then carry on, just keep doing it.
Yep.
Like you had 1 minute at 113% FTP just before halfway through. That's into VO2 territory. Yeah. That's why you hyperventilate, because you've reached peak aerobic uptake. Your body is gasping. It needs more. It can't get it. So then it relies on anaerobics, stores. When it does that, then it's in a bit of debt where you need to clear things out and recover before you can get back to it.
Yeah, and it's one where steeper climbs as a bigger rider, I have to slow down, right? Like
it's just physics.
This might be a no, or like it's obvious, but if it's steeper, I actually go slower and I'm a worse climber.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to like sustain a pace, the pace that you need to sustain actually goes down. Yeah. And then you need to be able to ramp back up as the grades ease. And that's a more manageable way to climb. But yeah, these big chunks, like the chunks above threshold need to be shorter.
Yeah.
Like first and foremost.
For sure. You have to look at them as something that's going to derail the rest. Like, you know, you have oxidative capacity for your body. And what you do when you do that is you go up to that limit and you push past that limit. And at that point, then your body is like, I just need to drop it back down. If you had proactively decided to approach it a little bit easier, then that would change. Now, you can train this, right? Like, you know, you are famous for your ability to do 30-30s kind of just forever. And that's
ideally.
That just works with your physiology. But the main goal is you just want to spend time at peak aerobic uptake. And you can do that either by doing 30-30s way above your sustainable VO2 power. And what happens is that if you were to graph it independently, it creeps up and you get to peak aerobic uptake with those on-offs. And you can kind of sustain that for longer than you would if you were just riding at.
Yeah, like, you keep VO2 topping intensity. Up, right? Yeah. And so you want to extend the tail of what that looks like. And it's a bad place to hang out, or like not that comfortable.
Yes.
But 100%, like once you've trained this to some more capacity than you have right now, like it's much more about hanging on to that for 10 minutes or, 15 or 20 minutes versus I'm sure the first 30-30s I do every year, and most people, like 5 minutes in, you're like, yep, that's it. Like there's no more. But as you hang out in that new space, and as long as you're getting the proper rest, or like shifting back down to 105% only, you can actually keep maintaining that for much longer. And with training, I'm thinking like, I mean, double, triple, quadruple what you can do now for almost every person.
Yep.
And if the climb is only 7K, that means you should actually be able to do it for the rest of the climb.
Yep. Float sets are a great way to target this. Hard starts. Then also like these, like we said on Austin, but also 3 to 5 minute VO2 max intervals. They're real hard.
They're real hard.
But those are the ones that are going to give you a lot of time at peak aerobic uptake, train this sort of thing. You can always just raise your threshold. That makes it improve your watt kg. That certainly helps. But the main thing that I see with this, though, above all, is that you have to ask yourself, is this actually a limiter? Because if you just pace correctly, it probably wouldn't be a limiter.
Yeah.
And from what it sounds like, this is a relative rarity for you that you encounter. So as a result, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense because I'm looking at your training and it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to just tailor your training plan specifically toward this small thing that really you could shore up against this weakness with proper pacing. And then you could just focus on raising your threshold through other things, sustainable power, the sort of stuff that really makes you faster. So it's hard for everybody.
It's hard for everybody. Yeah. And I mean, if you really want to get tricky, like use the outside of the corners on the 12% stuff, like take the easiest path.
Paperboy.
The Paperboy. But it absolutely, like the pacing leaves something to be desired.
Yeah, for sure.
And see if you can start working it so you're actually getting to that capacity in the last 1.5K. Because you can always hold, it's much easier to hold on when you can see the finish line.
Yep.
But yeah, I would say a lot of this is time and zone, or you have to hang out and see what it feels like, and then once you know what that is, you're like, all right, there's 11 minutes left of the climb. Like this 12% kicker, pretty much I just hang on for dear life after that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's all about pacing is really what I'm getting from Pete there, and Pete's really good at that on like climbs and stuff. You'll see Pete sag going into it early because he anticipates that he's going to absorb the pitch a little bit more, and then he'll catch up afterwards. So Pete, we're 2 minutes over.
That's okay.
You've got to go and pick up kiddos from daycare.
Yeah, go to gymnastics.
Oh, gymnastics. Ooh, that's much more fun.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you're listening to this one and you're going to do Leadville, I have a link down below to a forum thread, and that has timesheets for people that are going to finish at 7 hours, 7.5, 8, 9, 10. I won't do anything after that because I think that they have time cuts and stuff at that point that are probably going to be pretty helpful. But if you want those, you'll be able to print them out. They'll be top tube sized or stem sized, and you can tape them on there.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Hopefully that'll be a guide for you. It'll have all like where you should be at a specific time for the landmarks in terms of elapsed time. Good way to help pace yourself. So
hey, you guys got it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you all there. Pete, go to Freelap.
Oh, yeah.
Check it out.
We got new merch that'll probably be all gone by the time you guys hear this.
Dang it.
But we'll see. Check it out. See what you guys think.
Freelap.cc.
Freelap.cc.
And you can find them on Instagram, Freelap Collective. Awesome shop here that also you can go and buy the stuff wherever you are. You can go on their website and check the stuff out and buy it. Thanks, everybody. Go sign up for TrainerRoad. Get faster. We'll see you next time.